5 chilling Reddit love stories with disturbing sexual twists. Number 1. Love Gone Wrong. The Honeymoon Horror. I had always dreamed of a perfect honeymoon, an idyllic escape where my partner and I could begin our life together in bliss. We chose a secluded cabin in the woods, far from the hustle and bustle of city life. Little did I know, our love story was about to take a dark and twisted turn that would haunt me forever. As we arrived at the cabin, the serene surroundings and the whispering trees created an eerie ambience that sent shivers down my spine. That first night, I woke up to a chilling sensation, as if someone was watching us from the shadows. I brushed it off as my imagination, but the feeling lingered. My partner began to act strangely, his once loving demeanor morphing into something sinister. His eyes, once filled with warmth, now held a disturbing gleam. He started talking about the legend of a woman who had been brutally murdered in the very cabin we were staying in. The details were graphic and unsettling. Each night, the atmosphere grew heavier, the air thick with an oppressive silence that seemed to swallow our whispers. I discovered a hidden compartment in the cabin, filled with old photographs and letters. They revealed a history of tragic love affairs ending in gruesome deaths. My partner became increasingly obsessed with these stories, his fascination turning into a morbid fixation. One evening, he suggested we reenact one of the old love stories, a twisted game that sent chills down my spine. I reluctantly agreed, hoping it would snap him out of his dark trance. The game quickly turned violent. His touch, once tender, became rough and aggressive. I felt trapped, unable to escape the escalating nightmare. The line between reality and fantasy blurred as he whispered dark promises in my ear, his voice dripping with malice. I tried to leave, but the cabin seemed to have a mind of its own. Doors that once opened easily were now locked tight. My partner's behavior grew more erratic, his eyes gleaming with a madness that terrified me. He spoke of joining the spirits of the cabin, of making our love eternal in death. I found myself constantly on edge, every creak of the floorboards and rustle of the leaves outside sending my heart racing. One night I woke to find him standing over me, a twisted smile on his face. He held a knife, the blade gleaming in the moonlight. I managed to talk him down, but the terror of that moment stayed with me. I knew I had to escape before it was too late. The final night, I discovered a journal hidden under the floorboards. It chronicled the descent into madness of a previous occupant, eerily mirroring our own experience. With trembling hands, I packed my bags, determined to leave at first light. But as I stepped outside, I felt a cold hand on my shoulder. My partner, or whatever he had become, stood behind me, his eyes devoid of humanity. "You can't leave," he whispered. "The cabin won't let you." Desperation fueled my every move as I sprinted through the forest, branches tearing at my clothes and skin. The further I ran, the more the woods seemed to close in around me, the trees whispering sinister secrets. I stumbled upon an old graveyard, the headstones covered in moss and decay. Each one bore the name of a couple who had perished in the cabin. As dawn broke, I found my way back to civilization, my body and mind battered but alive. The nightmare was over, but the memories would haunt me forever. I later learned that the cabin had a history of driving couples to madness, their love twisted into something dark and deadly. To this day, I can't shake the feeling that something followed me back from those woods, a shadow lurking just out of sight. I've tried to move on, but every relationship I've had since has been tainted by a lingering fear, a doubt that I can't escape. The memory of my partner's twisted smile haunts my dreams, a reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the hearts of those we love. I've sought therapy, but the terror is too deep-seated, the trauma too raw to fully heal. I've shared my story online, hoping to warn others of the dangers that lurk in seemingly perfect love stories. Some nights I still hear the whispers of the forest, calling me back to the cabin, tempting me to return. I've vowed never to set foot in those woods again, but the pull is strong, a magnetic force that tugs at my soul. My experience has left me questioning the nature of love and the darkness that can hide behind even the most charming smiles. Now, I live in constant fear, wondering if the cabin's curse will ever truly let me go. Could you ever trust someone again after experiencing such a twisted love story? Leave a comment below. Number 2. A perfect match. The online dating nightmare. I thought I had found the perfect match on a dating app. His profile was charming, his messages sweet and attentive. After weeks of chatting, we decided to meet in person. Little did I know, this seemingly ideal romance would spiral into a terrifying nightmare that still haunts me. Our first date was magical, the chemistry undeniable. He seemed like the perfect gentleman, attentive and kind. As we continued to date, small red flags began to appear, but I brushed them off, convinced that I had finally found the one. He was incredibly attentive, always wanting to know where I was and who I was with. At first I found it flattering, but it quickly became suffocating. His demeanor began to change, his sweet nature giving way to possessiveness and control. I started to feel trapped in the relationship. One evening, he revealed a disturbing secret. He had been stalking me for months before we met, learning everything about my life. The revelation sent chills down my spine, but I was too scared to leave. He knew too much about me, and I feared what he might do. His obsession grew more intense, his behavior increasingly erratic. He would show up at my workplace, unannounced, watching me from a distance. I found hidden cameras in my apartment, placed there by him to monitor my every move. The sense of violation was overwhelming. I tried to break things off, but he wouldn't accept it. He threatened to harm himself if I left, playing on my guilt and compassion. The more I tried to distance myself, the tighter his grip became. He would send threatening messages, reminding me that I was never truly alone. I went to the police, but they couldn't do much without concrete evidence of a crime. The sense of helplessness was suffocating. One night I woke up to find him standing at the foot of my bed, his eyes filled with a terrifying intensity. He whispered that we were destined to be together forever. I managed to call the police, and he was arrested for trespassing. But the fear didn't end there. He was released on bail shortly after. The harassment continued, his threats becoming more explicit and violent. I felt like a prisoner in my own life, constantly looking over my shoulder. I moved to a new apartment, but he found me. The feeling of being hunted was inescapable, a constant shadow over my life. Friends and family tried to help, but they couldn't understand the depth of my terror. I felt isolated, alone in my nightmare. One day I found a letter in my mailbox, written in his familiar handwriting. It detailed his plans for our future, a twisted vision of love that made my blood run cold. The letter ended with a chilling promise. "If I can't have you, no one can." The words echoed in my mind, a constant reminder of the danger I was in. I changed my phone number, but he somehow got hold of it. The calls and messages continued, each one more disturbing than the last. I installed security cameras and alarms, but they did little to ease my paranoia. The sense of being watched was ever present. Desperation led me to seek a restraining order, but the process was slow and bureaucratic. I felt like I was running out of time. One night, my worst fears were realized. I came home to find my apartment ransacked, his scent lingering in the air. He had been there, waiting for me. I fled to a friend's house, my heart pounding with fear. I knew I couldn't keep running forever, but I didn't know what else to do. The police increased their patrols in my neighborhood, but it felt like a band-aid on a gaping wound. The threat was still out there, lurking. I started having nightmares, vivid and terrifying dreams of him finding me, of his hands around my throat. Therapy helped a little, but the trauma was too deep, the fear too ingrained in my psyche to be easily erased. Every knock on the door, every unfamiliar sound sent me into a panic. I was living in a constant state of alert. I began to question everyone around me, wondering if they were somehow in cahoots with him, feeding him information. My social life dwindled to nothing as I cut off contact with friends and family, fearing that they might inadvertently lead him to me. The stress took a toll on my health, both mentally and physically. I lost weight, slept poorly, and felt constantly exhausted. I considered changing my identity, disappearing completely, but the logistics were daunting, and I feared he'd find me anyway. In the end, I realized that I couldn't live like this forever. I had to take control of my life to reclaim my sense of safety and peace. Would you be able to move on from such a horrifying experience, or would the fear consume you? Leave a comment below. Number 3. The dark secret. A family's hidden horror. Meeting your significant other's family is always nerve-wracking, but I never expected my visit to reveal a dark and twisted secret that would shatter my perception of love and safety forever. My partner's family seemed perfect on the surface, kind, welcoming, and warm, but there was an undercurrent of tension that I couldn't quite place. The first night at their home, I heard strange noises coming from the basement, like whispers and faint cries. My partner brushed it off as old pipes. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The atmosphere was heavy, the air thick with unspoken secrets. My partner's father was particularly odd, his eyes always watching me with an intensity that made me uncomfortable. One evening, I stumbled upon an old photograph album hidden in the attic. It showed the family with another young woman who looked eerily like me. When I asked my partner about her, he became evasive, his usual openness replaced with defensiveness. The more I pressed, the more hostile he became. It was as if I had touched a nerve that ran deep within the family's history. Late one night, I heard muffled screams coming from the basement. I crept down the stairs, heart pounding, to investigate. What I found was horrifying. A hidden room with chains and shackles, old bloodstains marking the walls. It looked like a torture chamber. Before I could react, I was grabbed from behind and dragged into the room. My partner and his father stood over me, their expressions cold and detached. They revealed their dark secret. A history of abducting young women, keeping them captive for their twisted desires. The woman in the photographs was their last victim. I was tied up, the cold metal of the shackles biting into my skin. Panic surged through me as I realized the depth of their depravity. They took turns tormenting me, their actions cruel and calculated. My screams were met with laughter, my pleas for mercy ignored. Days turned into weeks, each one filled with unimaginable horror. I was starved, beaten, and psychologically tortured. I clung to the hope of escape, watching for any opportunity to free myself. But they were always one step ahead, their vigilance unrelenting. One day I managed to loosen my restraints and make a break for it. The adrenaline fueled my every step as I ran through the dark, labyrinthine basement. I found an old, disused tunnel and crawled through it, the narrow space scraping my skin raw. The tunnel led to the outside world, to freedom. I stumbled into the daylight, my body weak and battered, but alive. I made my way to the nearest town and alerted the authorities. The police raided the house, but my captors had vanished, leaving behind only their gruesome tools and the memories of their victims. I spent months in therapy, trying to piece my life back together. The trauma was deep, the scars both physical and mental. I shared my story online, hoping to warn others of the dangers that can lurk behind seemingly perfect facades. The investigation revealed a long history of abductions, the family moving from place to place to avoid detection. They had left a trail of broken lives in their wake. I live in constant fear, knowing that they are still out there, somewhere, free to continue their reign of terror. Every shadow, every unexpected noise sends me into a panic, a reminder of the nightmare I endured. I've changed my appearance, moved to a new city, and cut ties with my past in an attempt to hide from my tormentors. The fear never truly leaves, a constant companion in the back of my mind. Trusting others has become nearly impossible. My story has gained some attention, but it feels like a drop in the ocean compared to the darkness that still looms over me. I struggle with feelings of guilt, wondering if there was something I could have done to prevent the horrors that befell me and the others. The nightmares are relentless, vivid memories of my captivity playing out in my sleep, leaving me drenched in sweat. I found some solace in support groups, others who have faced similar horrors and understand the depth of my fear. My hope is that by sharing my story, I can prevent others from falling into the same trap, from becoming victims of monsters hiding in plain sight. Every day is a battle to reclaim my life, to find some semblance of peace and safety in a world that feels forever tainted by darkness. The experience has changed me irrevocably, but I refuse to let it define me. I am a survivor, and I will not let my captors win. Could you ever trust someone again after discovering such a horrifying family secret? Leave a comment below. Number 4. The Charmer. A deadly obsession. When I first met him, he was the epitome of charm and sophistication. Little did I know, his polished exterior hid a deadly obsession that would drag me into a world of terror and control. He was everything I had ever wanted in a partner. Intelligent, charming, and attentive, our connection was instant and intense. As we grew closer, I noticed small inconsistencies in his stories, but his charisma made it easy to overlook them. His attention quickly turned from flattering to overwhelming. He wanted to know every detail of my life, monitoring my every move. He started showing up unannounced, his presence always lurking just around the corner. It felt like he was always watching me. One night I discovered a hidden camera in my apartment. The realization that he had been spying on me was both terrifying and infuriating. But confronting him only made things worse. He admitted to the surveillance but claimed it was for my protection. His reasoning was twisted and manipulative. I tried to distance myself, but he became more possessive and aggressive, his charm turning into a weapon of control. He hacked into my social media accounts, sending messages to my friends and family, pretending to be me. The invasion of privacy was complete. His threats became more explicit, promising harm to those I cared about if I tried to leave him. I felt trapped, unable to escape his grasp. I went to the police, but without concrete evidence, there was little they could do. His manipulation was insidious, leaving no trace. One evening, I came home to find him waiting inside, a twisted smile on his face. He had broken in, asserting his dominance over my life. The terror of that night is etched into my memory. He held me captive, his words and actions a chilling display of power and control. I managed to escape, running to a neighbor's house for help. The police arrived, but he was already gone, leaving behind a trail of destruction. The investigation revealed a pattern of obsessive behavior, previous partners who had also suffered under his control. Despite a restraining order, he continued to harass me, his presence a constant shadow over my life. I lived in fear of his next move. Therapy helped me understand the depth of his manipulation, but the trauma was deep, the fear ever present. I moved to a new city, changed my appearance, and cut ties with my past in an attempt to escape his reach. The fear never truly left, a constant reminder of the danger that lurks behind charming facades. Every knock on the door, every unfamiliar face in the crowd sent my heart racing, a reminder of the terror I had endured. Trusting others became nearly impossible. I questioned everyone's motives, fearing another predator hiding behind a friendly smile. My story became a cautionary tale, a warning to others about the dangers of falling for charm without looking deeper. I joined support groups, finding solace in others who had faced similar horrors. Their stories mirrored mine, a testament to the darkness that can lurk in the hearts of seemingly perfect partners. The nightmares are relentless, vivid memories of his control and manipulation playing out in my sleep. I've learned to be vigilant, to trust my instincts, and never ignore the red flags that signal danger. My hope is that by sharing my story, I can prevent others from falling into the same trap, from becoming victims of monsters hiding in plain sight. Every day is a battle to reclaim my life, to find some semblance of peace and safety in a world that feels forever tainted by darkness. The experience has changed me irrevocably, but I refuse to let it define me. I am a survivor, and I will not let my captor win. I've found strength in my vulnerability, using my story to empower others and shed light on the dangers of unchecked charm and control. My journey to healing is ongoing, but I am determined to reclaim my life, to find joy and love that is free from fear and manipulation. The scars remain, both physical and emotional, but they are a testament to my resilience, my refusal to be broken by the darkness that sought to consume me. I will continue to share my story, to warn others and stand as a beacon of hope for those who are still trapped in the nightmare of an obsessive relationship. My message is clear. Never ignore the red flags, trust your instincts, and know that you are not alone in your fight against the darkness. Would you recognize the signs of a dangerous obsession before it's too late? Leave a comment below. Number 5. The perfect husband. A sinister secret. Everyone thought he was the perfect husband, kind, successful, and devoted. But beneath his polished exterior lay a sinister secret that would turn my life into a nightmare of fear and betrayal. Our marriage seemed perfect from the outside. We were the envy of our friends, a picture of happiness and success. He was attentive and loving, always making sure I had everything I needed. But there was a darkness behind his eyes that I couldn't quite place. Small things started to go missing around the house. At first I thought I was just being forgetful, but the pattern was too consistent to ignore. One night I found a hidden compartment in his office, filled with disturbing items, photographs of other women, locks of hair, and handwritten notes. The realization that he had been stalking and collecting these trophies was chilling. I felt like I didn't know the man I had married. Confronting him led to a terrifying outburst. He denied everything, his anger explosive and violent. I saw a side of him I had never seen before. I started to piece together his lies and deceit, realizing that our entire relationship had been built on a foundation of manipulation and control. He became increasingly paranoid, accusing me of spying on him, projecting his own actions onto me. I found a journal hidden in the attic, detailing his plans to abduct and torture women. The graphic descriptions made my blood run cold. His behavior grew more erratic, his outbursts more violent. I felt trapped, unable to escape the nightmare I was living. One night he attacked me, his hands around my throat as he whispered his dark fantasies in my ear. I thought I was going to die. I managed to fight him off and call the police. He was arrested, but the fear didn't end there. His threats echoed in my mind, a constant reminder of the danger he posed. The investigation revealed a long history of predatory behavior, women who had gone missing, their disappearances linked to him. I moved to a new city, changed my appearance, and cut ties with my past in an attempt to escape his reach. The fear never truly left, a constant shadow over my life. Trusting others became nearly impossible. Every knock on the door, every unfamiliar face in the crowd sent my heart racing, a reminder of the terror I had endured. Therapy helped, but the trauma was deep, the scars both physical and emotional. I struggled to find peace. I shared my story online, hoping to warn others of the dangers that can lurk behind seemingly perfect facades. My story gained attention, but it felt like a drop in the ocean compared to the darkness that still looms over me. I live in constant fear, knowing that he is still out there, somewhere, free to continue his reign of terror. The nightmares are relentless, vivid memories of his control and manipulation playing out in my sleep. I've learned to be vigilant, to trust my instincts and never ignore the red flags that signal danger. My hope is that by sharing my story, I can prevent others from falling into the same trap, from becoming victims of monsters hiding in plain sight. Every day is a battle to reclaim my life, to find some semblance of peace and safety in a world that feels forever tainted by darkness. The experience has changed me irrevocably, but I refuse to let it define me. I am a survivor, and I will not let my captor win. I found strength in my vulnerability, using my story to empower others and shed light on the dangers of unchecked charm and control. My journey to healing is ongoing, but I am determined to reclaim my life, to find joy and love that is free from fear and manipulation. The scars remain, both physical and emotional, but they are a testament to my resilience, my refusal to be broken by the darkness that sought to consume me. I will continue to share my story, to warn others and stand as a beacon of hope for those who are still trapped in the nightmare of an obsessive relationship. My message is clear. Never ignore the red flags, trust your instincts, and know that you are not alone in your fight against the darkness. The journey to healing is long and arduous, but I am determined to reclaim my life, to find joy and peace that is free from fear and manipulation. Would you be able to trust someone again after discovering such a horrifying secret? Leave a comment below. And that's it from this video. See you in the next one.